Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Joining us again is interpreter Margie Propp, and thank you so much, Margie, for providing your services, and thank you to the media and to all our community members who are tuning in for this briefing. We'll have our regular update on our city's response to the COVID-19 pandemic in just a few moments. But before we get to that, I would like to start today by addressing the protests that have taken place here in Lincoln following the tragic killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis last week. Allies and activists have come together to speak out against the injustice that we've seen across the country. Our community is having difficult and necessary conversations right now. These conversations must happen for healing and real change to begin. I stand in solidarity with those who are lifting their voices to ensure that equity in our community and in our nation, so that everyone, regardless of their color, is accorded human dignity and respect. For the last several days, I've attended the protests and had the opportunity to hear directly from community members about their grief and their anger and their calls for racial justice. Last night, I listened to hundreds of young people peacefully protest in front of the Hall of Justice and was moved by their leadership and their willingness to engage in difficult dialogue. I want to thank those participating in the peaceful protest last night for their peaceful and powerful demonstration. I'm also proud of the approach taken by LPD, LSO, and NSP last night to create a more positive and peaceful environment for both protesters and law enforcement. It was moving to witness State Patrol Major Mike Johnke join protesters to kneel in silence for 9 minutes in honor of George Floyd. Chief Blymeister and officers of the Lincoln Police Department also joined a community event at the Malone today to kneel in solidarity with our grieving residents and to reaffirm their commitment to racial justice. The events last night demonstrated that there is a way forward for our community, a path of open dialogue, respect, and change without violence and destruction. Last night gives me hope for another night focused on amplifying important messages that everyone needs to hear, free from the destructive distraction created by a small number of bad actors looking to take advantage of this moment. What I heard last night was an invitation for all of us to walk in solidarity that Black lives matter. What I heard last night was an invitation for all of us to walk together in peace towards a more just world. What I saw last night by everyone present at the Hall of Justice and at the Capitol and on each of the blocks in between was a commitment to community safety and community building. For these reasons, I have decided not to extend the curfew tonight. As rallies continue, we look forward to further cooperation between law enforcement and residents to protect everyone in our community, and in doing so, to create a more just world from our place in it here in Lincoln, Nebraska. We will now move on and provide an update on local cases and conditions of the ongoing pandemic. We want to remind you that a great deal of detailed information and resources is available on our website, covid19.lincoln.ne.gov. At that website, you will also find our COVID-19 Risk Dial, a tool to help our community members know the steps they can take to protect their health and the health of others. The COVID-19 Risk Dial provides a visual, color-coded depiction of local conditions we are experiencing here in Lincoln and Lancaster County. It is, in essence, a forecast of risk. Red represents the highest risk of COVID-19 spread, and green represents the lowest. We update the dial every Friday, and currently the dial remains in the orange category. That means there continues to be a high risk of the virus spreading in our community. For that reason, we continue to encourage people to stay home to the extent possible. However, if you do decide to attend a rally, please wear a face covering and try to maintain some physical distancing to protect your health and the health of those around you. As we continue the important work of addressing racial injustice, we know that COVID-19 is still present in our community, and we must take all precautions to limit the spread of the virus. I'd like to remind everyone that you are at risk of contracting the virus anytime you're out among other people. Any one of us can be an asymptomatic carrier of the virus and unknowingly spread the disease. It's extremely important that we all continue to take steps to prevent the spread of the virus. And those are to, again, stay home to the extent possible, stay at least 6 feet away from others, continue to wash your hands frequently and thoroughly. Be a hero. Wear a face mask every time you're outside the home and around others. And those who are age 65 and older, as well as those with underlying health conditions, please continue to rely on others for help with needs outside the home. Here in Lincoln today, we have had an additional 17 individuals test positive for COVID-19. The total number of lab-confirmed cases in Lincoln now stands at 1,245. Our total recoveries identified to date is up from 163 on Friday to 195 today. Again, we do define recovery as an individual who was diagnosed with a lab-confirmed case of positive result of COVID-19 who has not experienced symptoms for 28 days. Lincoln had very few cases reported before the end of April, so we do anticipate additional recoveries to be reported in the coming weeks as that 28-day marker is achieved by more of the individuals who contracted the virus in May. And here with more on the latest investigations by our local health department is Health Director Pat Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to begin by talking about the testing that is available in our community right now. Bryan Health has drive-through testing available at the LifePoint site on South 27th from 1 to 4 p.m. weekdays. And CHI Health St. Elizabeth has a drive-through testing site at North Star High School from 2 to 6 on weekdays. The weekend hours will vary at the two sites. Test Nebraska is again conducting tests at the Lancaster Event Center, and the schedule will be announced every week. The remaining opportunity this week is 8 to 6 p.m. this Thursday, June 4th. Again, these are by appointment only. From Friday through Monday, Bryan Health and CHI St. Elizabeth completed 763 tests. From Sunday, May 24th through Saturday, May 30th, Test Nebraska completed 1,585 tests. The most it has completed in a week's time since they've been in Lancaster County. For the month of May, nearly 12,000 COVID-19 tests were conducted in Lancaster County. That's about 72% of all the tests that have been completed. We continue to strongly urge you to sign up to get tested if you have concerns about potential exposure or have symptoms of COVID-19. To get started, you can contact your doctor or fill out a risk assessment at chihealth.com or bryanhealth.com or testnebraska.com. If you need assistance, you can contact the health department at 402-441-8006. The increase in testing has, as expected, resulted in more positive tests. 935 positive tests were identified in the month of May. This accounts for 77% of all the cases in Lancaster County. We had 70 positive cases reported in Lincoln from Saturday through Sunday. With today's 17 cases, that brings the total to 1,245. The total number of tests that have been completed is now 16,471. That makes our overall positivity rate 7.5%, down slightly from the 7.6% on Friday. The overall state rate is down from 13.9% Friday to 13.5% today, and the national rate is down from 14.3% to 13.1%. As we reported on Friday, we have seen a leveling off with COVID-19 patients in our local hospitals over the past 2 weeks. Today, we have the same total of COVID-19 patients hospitalized as on Friday. The hospitals reported 34 COVID-19 patients hospitalized. 25 are from Lancaster County, and 9 are from outside the county. The number of patients on ventilators is down from 12 on Friday to 8 today, 5 of whom are from Lancaster County and 3 from outside the community. Our contact tracers continue to work to identify any small cluster. A cluster is identified as having 2 or more cases connected with a particular location. We use this low threshold to help identify locations with potential for rapid spread of the virus so we can intervene quickly. At this time, 67% of the cluster cases in Lancaster County are connected to food and meat processing facilities. The number of Lancaster County residents who are positive cases related to the Smithfield plant in Crete have increased from 319 on Friday to 328 today. 191 are employees at the plant and 137 are family members or other direct contacts. The number of cases at the Smithfield plant here in Lincoln has increased from 27 Friday to 28 today, and the number of cases at Smart Chicken in Waverly has also increased from 27 to 28. The number of cases at Universal Cold Storage in Lincoln has increased from 31 on Friday to 33 today. Finally, today, we would also like to announce a new tool to help local event planners. As outlined in the directed health measure for Lancaster County, any indoor or outdoor venue that holds more than 500 individuals must submit a reopening plan to the health department. To make this a simple process, an event plan application is now available on the city's COVID-19 webpage. You will find it under the heading Business Resources. This electronic form will help you develop your own event safety plan. Once that form is completed, it's submitted to the health department staff who will review it and work with the organizers to provide guidance for any changes that may be needed to ensure that all workers and attendees are safe. I want to echo the mayor's reminder that our community remains at high risk for the spread of COVID-19. Anyone can contract and spread COVID-19. Please limit your interactions with people outside of your household. We need to continue to support each other by staying 6 feet away from others, wearing our face covering, and washing our hands frequently.
Thank you, Director Lopez. And with that, we would like to open up to the media for questions.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and ask this one. The question is kind of from KFOR. If the mayor is going to declare a curfew with no intention of arresting or citing people for breaking it, what message does that send?
Okay, could everyone hear the question? It's if the mayor is going to declare a curfew with no intention of arresting or citing people for breaking it, what message does that send? You know, when there are many conflicting interests, the priority must be on public safety and preventing injuries and damage to property. The purpose of the curfew was not about arresting people, it's not about arresting peaceful protesters, but to protect them. When a smaller subset of people who did not go home after the rally ended instead moved on to Target last night, where they were no longer peaceful, they were arrested. Next question.
Mayor, this is Lynn Fisher with KZUM.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi. Were there any arrests related to the property destruction?
Last night, Lynn?
At all, and since the weekend?
You know what? I don't have the chief here to provide details on investigations that they have underway at LPD. There were arrests made last night when there were stones thrown at the Target building at 48th and O.
Thank you.
It says 29 people lodged in jail for violations.
Sorry, was that last night, Diane? 29 lodged in jail for violations, according to Diane's information.
That was just one.
Just last night. Other questions?
Hi, Mayor. Chris Bass, Lincoln Journal-Star. What concerns or what worries does the city have about a possible spike in cases from COVID-19 with the protests going on? I guess, what are your concerns there?
Well, of course, public health officials are concerned. I'm concerned. We have limitations on gatherings of people in confined indoor and outdoor spaces to try to protect people from close contact, from the kind of close contact that allows droplets from people breathing on each other to spread the disease. And you don't have to have any symptoms of COVID-19 to be spreading the disease. And that's one of the things that makes it such a difficult and invisible threat. We know as well that communities of color are being disproportionately impacted by this disease right here in Lincoln. And so the idea that folks who have important messages that they should get out and that their voices need to be heard may be subjecting themselves to further threats from an invisible virus is absolutely, painful for all of us to consider. But we know that they're aware, they're making informed choices, and so we are encouraging anyone who goes to the rally to please wear a face mask, try to keep some distance between yourself and others to the extent possible, so that everyone can stay safe, tonight and in the coming weeks. Next question? Is that
Hi, Nick McConnell, Lincoln Journal-Star. We're curious, last night it seems that LTD was largely on the edges, blocking traffic and staying in the Hall of Justice when responding to the protest. Did LTD and other law enforcement change their tactics for last night?
Well, clearly, there was deep thought and effort that went into trying to create the most peaceful and safe environment for everyone involved, to try and de-escalate any potential for conflict. And as you saw, if you were there last night, LPD blocked 10th Street with their vehicles to protect those who were gathered in the street. Later in the evening, they helped facilitate safe passage for people down O Street. So again, there is an intent by our law enforcement agencies to ensure that people's voices can be heard, that peaceful demonstrators are able to successfully share their message and express their constitutional right to freedom of speech.
Absolutely. And then I had another question, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So some organizers are calling for the protest to continue indefinitely. How long can the city be prepared to have a law enforcement presence out nightly?
Yeah. Nick, we have a lean police force. The per capita ratio of police officers to our population is very slim. We pride ourselves on the quality of what they are able to achieve, assisted by technology to make up for boots on the ground. But this is a very challenging effort for them to support and sustain night after night, but they're showing up for duty and trying to do everything they can to support the peaceful assembly of those who would wish to protest and make their voices heard. I think we're all looking forward to what comes next. I've heard that from protesters. I've heard that from community members I've been in conversation with. I think the real work goes beyond a single march, or a single protest, and from the important conversations that have been begun and the difficult dialogues that are occurring. From there, we have to look at how we take longer-term action to address systemic inequalities and racial injustices in our communities across our country. And so I think everyone's looking forward to having those conversations and those dialogues too.
And then really quickly, I just wanted to follow up. What's the increased financial impact of on LPD and on the city of needing a police force out every night?
I don't have those figures in front of me. I know that Chief Bleimeister was trying to put those together for another reporter who had asked a similar question. So if you don't mind, Nick, I would love to be able to get back to you with that information.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? All right. Well, if there are no further questions, Thank you for tuning in to help get out this important public health message about COVID-19. We want everyone to stay safe and stay healthy and stay connected during this pandemic. And thank you to everyone out there who is working towards a more peaceful and safe and just city here in Lincoln, and for thinking through how they might seek understanding of how to achieve that. Take care.